Tesla up $100 a share on Plaid revenue and profit is our question for today as we head into the Plaid announcement today, the 11th of June 2021. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, please take time to like and subscribe. We also want to encourage you to take time to like and subscribe. We definitely have a lively situation occurring here and look forward to covering sort of details to help you anticipate what might occur. So, as you know, whenever it comes to any company, including and especially Tesla, because Tesla doesn't have a real PR department per se, there's a whole bunch of things that we end up covering, and a lot of it is focused on having a certain amount of information, then working off of that for sort of better outcomes. So what's happening today is the stock price obviously is up. That's terrific. The challenge, though, is because Tesla chose today, which is a Thursday, heading into a pin day on Friday, it means that the trading, I think, is going to be very tricky. The reason being that you have a situation where the market makers at certain price points, be it 620, 625, 630, they deliberately make a ton of money if the stock price finishes below that. The flip side of this is that if there's a lot of really good news data that rolls in for Tesla right now, we now have the potential that those folks with large dollars are also able to move the stock via their purchases as well. So what we're saying here is that there are counterweighing forces that could big time influence what happens with Tesla's sales, profits, etc. Now, there's a few different angles that we'd like to cover this from. The first one is that it was just announced by Elon that they did get rid of the Plaid Plus, but what they're actually doing now is raising the price of the Plaid by $10,000. Now, I spoke with one friend who has an interest in the Plaid, and he was like, man, you know, that's kind of unfair for him to do that because, yeah, we can afford it, but I don't think it's a great business decision for him to do that. And I'd have to say I agree with that assessment. So the issue, though, is that extra 10 grand is definitely going to help the company. And from what we can see, it just adds to their profit margin without any issues. I kind of had a debate with a buddy of mine who's interested in purchasing the Plaid about, well, what are the implications of that 10 grand raise? So the question mark is, if Elon is having a problem selling the car, he's going to keep the price the same or below what he was pricing it at. Now, by him raising it by 10 grand, it now brings it into an equivalent price range to the Porsche Taycan. And when you consider the infrastructure that Tesla has behind the car in the form of charging and other things, it definitely makes sense for that price to be there, but he probably should have done that price beforehand, not after the fact in terms of what's going on right now. So I believe that I agree with the potential buyers that there's not a lot of joy about an extra 10 grand for the vehicle, but the other question that pops up is if there's an overabundance of vehicles, the price might be lower, but what this suggested to me is that Tesla's having a problem in terms of supply, which is there's such a large demand for the vehicle that they can afford the price increase because they can expect a few people to get angry and choose not to buy the car, but there's severe enough demand that they'll have no problem getting rid of the car at the higher price. So I would say that this is kind of good news for Tesla. What Elon won't cover, but we're going to speculate on, is the fact that somewhere around 2,000 cars a month is what 2,000 cars a week is what we're expecting to be produced on that line. And ballparking it, that's 100,000 vehicles a year that would spread all over the globe. And I think that's realistic in terms of top of the line vehicles, performance, ready to go with the charger system set up, etc. I think that the cars will sell well and sell annually without much difficulty. I guess, so that's my general assessment of sort of what we're seeing, what I expect to occur, etc. So the next thing that we wanted to review was, well, now that we have a sense for the numbers of what to expect from them, how is this going to be handled by large entities? Namely, how is the battle going to work out between the short-term traders and the long-term investors? Well, what we covered was that we do have the 3-day rule. It takes time for large investors to get prepared and respond to news that happens to Tesla in this fashion. So we're definitely expecting that to happen with the Plaid. And I would say that I can't see how this could be bad. The only bad thing I see for Tesla right now is what's going on with the Bitcoin price and whether or not there'll be an impairment charge. I'd have to say that the positive bias is definitely in on my part. And so that's my general take. I think we end up in the Friday 620, 630, maybe 640 zone. And over the next 3 or 4 days, we could end up in the 670, 680, maybe even 690 zone, because they have to account for the revenue increase and the profit increase that the vehicle represents. And when you have 500 cars sitting for folks at the introduction to see, it's clear that this is happening right now and it's not going to be delayed in its impacting of the company. So the other thing I'm hoping for is some answers about the status of the 4680 and some other products like the truck that might be revealed at this event if Elon feels like doing so. So that's another component of sort of what might happen that potentially spikes the stock. So I would say that, I think we're in a great period for Tesla, a lot of production, a lot of demand around the world, vehicles being shipped, customers appreciating the value proposition. The only thing I'd say is a fly in the ointment is I'm amazed at how there's consistent data that makes no sense, but is being revealed. So CNBC is still reporting that Tesla's having problems selling cars in China, while at the same time, a couple of days before, they announced that the cars that weren't being sold in China were being sold in other places. There are vehicles arriving in Australia in large numbers, also in Israel, etc. So there's this disconnect between the reporting that's going on and how well the company's doing, which I think is kind of interesting. The next thing I wanted to get into is something that's called hedging. So right now, it's my belief Tesla will be up 100 points. And for those of you who are large holders of the stock, I highly recommend that you pick up a few grand of puts, because, in that 600, 590 range, because Tesla is the kind of company where they can put out something great and then Elon can say something like the stock price is too high or something like that. And then on a temporary basis, everybody runs for the hills until they can confirm that what he said isn't a big problem. And then everybody will run back to the stock afterwards. So we end up with this potential crazy situation where you could end up losing a lot of money on something being said that would move the stock big time negatively. I believe since the entry in S&P, Tesla has done this transition from having these 100-point, 150-point, 24-hour periods to having very few of those, more like 25 to 50 points at the high if something great happens, or even on the low. And so this is a different trading environment, and I really think that what we're seeing is a situation where hedge fund managers are smart. They know how to take a smaller amount of money, leverage it up, and make big changes in what's happening in the marketplace, hence what we've been seeing over the last few months. The problem the hedge fund managers have is what I call the big fish problem. When a large mutual fund or pension fund makes a big move, even if you've got great technique, you can get run over by those guys. So I don't think they're going to get run over tomorrow, but it's entirely possible a short squeeze could happen where large institutions have been gathering cash to hear this report, and they have the analyst reports already in hand, and they can make big moves before competitors do into the stock heading into next week. We're going to find out what the answer to that is over the next 2 business days, and then we're going to get the movement of the stock into next week that we've discussed. But I'm fully expecting there to be a nice change in Tesla and for the change to be positive, but I'm under no delusions that wow. Oh, we just had a little bit of a technical difficulty here. I'm under no delusions about the fact that the stock could drop dramatically until cooler heads prevail. So because we're having some technical difficulty, I think I'm going to end this conversation here, look through it, and then we'll probably do another show tomorrow to follow up on the information that was picked on this evening. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss German, au revoir French, Lehithro Hebrew, Hoda Hafez Farsi, Zdravstvuyte Russian, Ni hao ma Chinese. Thanks and have a great day, and bye for now.